Whiteboard Wednesdays, we're right back at it. Everyone around the table, back from last week. We're in episode 13 here, season 4, and this is our second episode. I think, we're heading down the playoff route right now. It's only fitting. I think, our playoffs are coming up, but not only ours. I think most college teams are starting to get into playoff time and conference tournaments. So, I think we'll get into that a little bit. We'll take a couple questions from our viewers if there's some questions there. But what I really wanted to touch base on, and I think today I really want to look at perspective of, forever in Canada, everyone's always felt like you had to leave to make it. And, I think I tweeted out, this past week that you're hated till you made it. And I really believe that that's always been kind of the Canadian culture is like, man, you'll never get enough credit just staying here. You always had to leave to come back to get that credit. And then once you come back, I feel like they find another reason not to like you because you made it. And I wanted to really kind of get into it because we have obviously you, from Quebec, and Rudy from the U.S. I wanted to see your guys' perspective on you coming to Canada and looking at basketball, and you now traveling down to the States looking at basketball, and then you growing up all the way through, Rayshawn, growing up in Brampton, playing AAU, and your perspective, because you didn't leave to go to the States. You stayed here and you saw a lot of your friends leave. So I really want to start off with, your perspective of what you've seen when you've gone down to the States so far of high school basketball in the States versus Canada. And then, Rudy, will come to you with what you've seen in Canada versus what you've experienced growing up in the U.S.
I think for me there's 3 dynamics. Like me coming from Montreal is a culture of its own. And then I think elsewhere in Canada is another culture of its own. And then going to the U.S. is like another culture again, right? So I think I got the shock like almost 2 times. Like this the first one, then I got the second one when I moved, when we started traveling to go to the U.S. and everything. I think with me, the biggest thing that I could see is the fact that if I take Montreal by itself, I think it's hard to make it over there because everybody's kind of like thinking like people are kind of doing it for the wrong reasons, right? So it kind of like doesn't help to grow the game the way that it has to grow. My first thing that I noticed when I came to Ontario was that it seemed like there was more resources. There's more people backing up sports. There's also way more teams. Ontario is also bigger, right? So the community is way bigger. I think there's less of this idea that, and there might still be, but it's just my perspective, right? As a first season here, I think there's less of that ability to kind of have a monopoly over everybody, and I think sometimes that's what kind of kills the growth of the game that it has to go. Now, one thing that I noticed is, and Rudy, you could back me up on this if you feel like, well, in the U.S., like it's just like we just keep going, like. People are invested in their sports. I told Coach T this when we went to that tournament we went to the tournament in South Carolina and we paid at the door. Yeah. I know that if that happened in Canada, people would make a fuss because you pay at the door. It's like an investment, and you're cool with it. Like in the U.S., it's like, okay, we're just going to an event. And you told me
you're going to a show.
Yeah, and you told me that a lot of times, like people like, Friday night, this is what they do. They go out there. This is what they do. Whatever. Here, it's kind of like, it's still the mindset of it's an expense. It's an expense. Whereas I feel like in the U.S. it's more like an investment. Like we're going to this. It's not a waste of their time. So I think part of it is how we treat sports in general. Like in Canada, if any chance that we have to save money, we're gonna try to save money. But I think in the U.S., like people are more willing to invest, and there's more sponsors and things like that. So I think that was my perspective too.
I think one thing, and then we'll get your perspective on it. But when you say about paying to go to an event and it being this is what people do. Way back when I met and I don't know how many people know this, but Charles, the coach at Fort Erie, and I, before he even coached here or was at Fort Erie, he was at Bill Crothers. And him and I met downtown in a restaurant for breakfast a couple times, and we're like, man, we gotta get a league together. We gotta get something, because Bill Crothers and Orangeville Prep were always playing each other, and we were scheduling games and things like that. And Larry Blunt at the time, who's at Oklahoma State now, was a part of like that scheduling part of like, hey, we gotta get some games and competitive games. And so we met several times, and we came up with this idea to start the OSBA.
Yeah.
And that whole idea was to make it like Friday Night Lights. Like it was supposed to be, Tuesday or Wednesday night at 7 p.m. where, not only can your students come back to the game, your parents could be off work and they could come support versus, normal high school where it's like, hey, 2:30 tip off or 3 o'clock or 3:30. Like parents are either leaving work early or phoning in sick or just missing outright that game. And we wanted to create that environment where it was like, it was an event. And I think, with COVID, obviously we got away with it, but I got away from it a little bit. And you see weird start times to games and things like that. But like, I think in order to continue to grow this game, it's got to be an elevation of norm.
Has to.
And it's got to be something that's different and special. It's got to be, there's club ball, there's high school ball, and then there's the event, which should be, the prep, OSBA prep league. And I think that building and that maturation should be that it's not as simple as just saying, okay, we're going to do this game right after school because we want to have all of our fans here. And some of the teams really did a good job buying into it. And some, I think back to some of the best places that we played, and Vaughan was one of them. Yeah. They had season ticket holders, they had drums, they had fans, and it was something to do in Vaughan on, let's say, a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. And we did the same here at Orangeville, and TRC did a good job when they were around. And, I think we need to get back to that because, like you said, you didn't feel any way about partying with $15 US to watch a game. No. Because you felt like if I'm not here, I'm missing out on something.
Right.
And with that, I want to kind of throw it to you to say, like, you grew up in that culture, and then you come here, and what do you see?
So, like Coach O, like you were saying, like it's, if it was a basketball game, you just got to be there. Like you got to put on your best fit, and you just got to be there. Yeah. And like so far, like here, like it's people here, but like it's different. Like, cause I'm used to seeing people come in with like, say the Jays just came out last Friday, or they went into the game. That's the first place they went into, and they got on their best fit. So like, I mean, you don't see much of that, but like, it's still a good vibe to see that basketball is happening when you don't need all that. Cause like, even in college, like people literally just dress up just for the game. Yeah. And you go home and you take the clothes off.
You take the clothes
off.
Like
that's it. Like. That's literally what you did. So I think it's good to see that people like.
It's like you buy those J's, but you save the $15 to make sure you still get in the game.
Yeah, and like I sometimes I be like, man, why did you wear that fit just to come to a game? Like nobody gonna see you wear that. Like you're gonna be sitting down the whole time.
It's that walkthrough.
Yeah.
That one or two times.
It's like you got to get up to go to the bathroom and walk down the side one or two times.
Even if you don't got to use the bathroom. Or like at halftime, you go to concession and just standing around. So like, that's really the only time people going to see your fit. So, I mean, it used to always be funny, like, just watching that. Like, but these people really just getting fresh to come here, like, and go home.
And people be calling, yo, I'm going to holler at you after the game, man.
Yeah, like, even after the game, they want to come out and just be on the court. Just They stay.
It raining outside. They got plastic bags. They tying up over the door.
Sometimes too. Hey, or they bring a change of shoes or something. But nah, just growing up in the States, looking at basketball, it was I used to always just thought like it was just like the States, like this is the only basketball that's going on. And as I started to grow older, I started realizing that it's basketball happening in other places, like it's even in other countries that's just as good as the States. And when I decided to take the opportunity here, I never really knew what kind of basketball was about until I got here. And just being here, I know that there are teams here that can compete with a lot of state teams. Like it's a lot of teams in OSBA that can go to any other state, and as you say, like same things here when a state championship.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can easily do that. So I don't say like it was a big difference because I really didn't know, but like it's really some hidden gems in Canada, and I think I don't say it's an underrated country, but I think people need to look into it more.
Under recruited.
Under recruited for sure, definitely under recruited. And I don't know if it's that like a COVID thing or coaches having trouble getting the board or just time, but I think the kids here are under recruited. And it's people that need to see what's going on up here.
What's popping?
Yeah, because I think just coming up here, it really just opened me up. So now I'm interested to see like, so what's the basketball like in Australia and Europe and stuff like that. So I'm like, now that just opened me up. Like, well, if it's like that in Canada, ain't no telling what it's like in other places as well. So I thought it was a good experience for me just to being up here and getting to see that.
Now, Rayshawn, what's your take? You've kind of seen both perspectives.
So the biggest thing for me, I think it comes back to what you were saying is the investment part. I think more people are looking for getting their hands in something rather than investing in something. Is more privileged than anything else here, I think. People are only fans if they have their hand in it. Not fans of just the game of basketball and willing to invest in it and grow the game and grow the kids in order to actually get to the level of where the States is at. And so that's what I think is the biggest thing that has held us back, at least. And but I think like places like Orangeville Prep, obviously, and some other schools had created a foundation.
Yeah.
I think at this point it's just for the rest of the country to kind of just buy into that.
Now, with that being said, I think you could get, and again, it kind of goes back to that you're hated till you made it. If it's not your idea, then it's not good. But the problem is everybody's idea is not good in that standpoint. And the one thing that I did start to see, and especially during COVID, was more camaraderie between programs. Like back, I'm not going to say back in the day, back several years, is like an AAU program here couldn't talk to another AAU program.
Yeah.
It was like there was too much animosity, too much politics, too much, and I think you started to see a lot of the programs at least start to talk and come up with agreements and a mutual understanding and respect for each other because everyone was going through the same thing at the same time. And I think that perhaps was good for the culture in Toronto.
That brings up a good point what you guys are saying, and it's getting me to think. I think when you start like either an AAU team or a program or whatever, like automatically when you start it, you become a leader. You're a leader, right? I think a lot of people go into leading without having done work on themselves first. So then it makes you lead the people in the wrong direction, right? So like think about it. If I go into a program, I'm like, let's say I had the worst experience ever in basketball, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna show everybody that I am actually good or whatever. I wanna make this up. Well, I'm gonna create a whole program based off of that. So then what ends up happening is subconsciously you're gonna make bad decisions because that's gonna be based on the insecurities that I have as a leader. And leaders that are hurt, all they're gonna do is just like hurt people. Period. Like if you're gonna do good in this game, like you gotta really be good with yourself. And that's one thing that you told me when I first came here, Coach, and that really stuck with me, was the first thing that Coach T told me is, look, I'm good. I just want to help you get to where you want to go. Think about how powerful that shit is. Like, think about it. Like, you are good with yourself, and you want to help others. Like, that's the only way that you're going to grow. That's the only way. Now, if it was, I'm trying to beat this program. Well, then after I go into that mentality, let's go, let's beat this program. You know what I'm saying?
I think what it is if you're in a situation where you're trying to get out,
right,
or you're trying to get something out of it, then you're in trouble.
Right.
I think it's when you're in a situation where you're good with who and what you are and you enjoy. Like, I got the best job in the world.
I'm telling you.
Like, no one could tell me any different on any given day. Like, I coach basketball. I lead youth. I impact them both in basketball and just in life. Like, I don't have to get up and sit behind a desk from 9 to 5. Like, my day is different every day, and that's what makes this thing exciting. It could be different good, and it could be different bad, but the different bad still could end up good if you spin it the right way, because your bad days are things that teenagers are learning.
100%.
You know what I mean? And then you have opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you could take their bad and make it good for them, and in turn that gave you your development and the stuff that you needed too. You know, I think part of the thing that probably helped me the most is I've been through this, and this is one thing I say to you guys all the time is like, we deal with other people's kids.
Yep.
That's your responsibility. That's you have everybody else's prized possession in your hands. That's your job. Make sure that they're healthy. You can't make sure they're always happy, but you have to make sure they always understand. And I think I've been through it both as a parent, I've been through it as a father of athletes, and I've been through it as a father watching other coaches coach my kids. It's not always just me coaching my kids and taking total control. I think the ability to take your hands off it and watch, I think makes me better, because I also get to see the things that I don't like, and I could look in the mirror and say, if I don't like that, am I doing that? And I could put things into better perspective. So I think the one thing for you guys is, if my best interest is your best interest, then that's a win. Because if my best interest is for myself only, then your best interest is nowhere in my thought. And that's the difference. If I'm trying to get to where you're trying to get, that's a problem. You know, I want you guys to get to, I don't know if you could ever get a better job than the one I have right now, no matter where you go, because I love my job that much that I wouldn't leave it for any of those other jobs. But your dream job is not this job.
Right. So
it's another job. So that's perfect for me. That's perfect for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that really helps. Now, with that being said, we kind of walked ourselves into a topic that I always wanted to like really look at is, and people out there to see, like, we're all sitting here, we're basketball coaches. You know, who knows? There could be people logging in right now, and they're sitting there at work watching us, and they have that 9 to 5. And maybe something we say inspires them to say, like, yo, I'd really like to try that. And sometimes you got to take that leap of faith. And I think everyone in this room's taken a leap of faith in regards to, like, I'm chasing my dream. I have goals. I want to do this. People said I couldn't. Everybody's been in that position. And some of us can say, screw it, I'm going to do it. And some of us say, nah, I can't make that sacrifice because the what ifs outweigh the what could be's. And so with that being said, like, what is the day in the life of a basketball coach in terms of you guys? Like, what goes into the scouts? Like, break down really how much work this is, because it's not really just sitting here all day. Like, we got to find time to do this show.
Right.
We're squeezing this in between all the other things we have to do. But what are some of the things? If you were talking to an aspiring coach that wanted to come to Orangeville Prep or anywhere else, what are some of the things that you got to know, do, learn? Some of the things that you thought, man, I ain't doing that, and you find yourself doing it.
Yeah.
Like, what are those things?
So, you guys want to say what our schedule is? Because our schedule is pretty crazy. What do you think about it?
I mean,
Okay, so I'll ask you guys questions if that's easy. Like,
Yeah.
what time do you start?
So, you have to be up, like when we practice at 6, you got to be up at like 5:30.
got to.
And what's the first thing you do? You get up, you come to the gym, because there's days where I'm like, man, I wouldn't even want to work for myself. Because I'm looking at it like, man, like I want the gym set up. I want the music on. I want the atmosphere. I want I want the vibe in the gym to be good before the first player walks in the gym. So just walk through some of those things of like printing off rosters, printing off this, getting the practice plan, like all the things that we do, walk through. And maybe each of you take a little piece of that and just show, like, this isn't, it's fun because we make it fun. But there's a lot of effort, time, and work that goes into this thing.
There's a lot, First thing I want to talk about is just the structure, just in general structure, okay? So we're also in a situation where we're getting back to our normal right? We had with the pandemic and everything, we had, a period where things were just not as normal. The structure really helps. The structure really, really helps. Okay, so our schedule. So I'll just give a brief. We have a 6 a.m. practice. So we go 6, and then sometimes there'll be a split. So we'll go 6, 6:30, all the way to 7:15, and then we'll go 7:15, 8. So sometimes we'll swap the
So
groups. Individuals, yep.
on court and lift.
Then we got the breakfast at 8. Lunch at 12.
And now, so breakfast, are those optional or are those?
Breakfast is mandatory. You gotta be there.
Gotta be there.
You gotta be there. You
Hey.
gotta be at breakfast. You got to be at
Hey,
breakfast.
breakfast,
Gotta be at breakfast.
most important meal of the day. And for me, if we're gonna call it in on the court and say 1, 2, 3 family, then we can't not eat together.
Right.
And I believe that, you got to be at breakfast, and you got to be able to have conversations with those the young kids that are going off to school and set those expectations. But we're no different than a mother and father. They got to see us on the same page.
Right.
That's true. Damn. That's true. That just hit me when you said that. That's true, man.
So
Because before they go, just having, I'm thinking about the mindset of if, let's say, you lived at home, right? And your parents, let's say you wake up by yourself, you go eat your cereal, and you don't see your parents before you leave. I'm thinking about how much of a different day you would have if you saw your parents.
look how many kids that just this morning sitting at breakfast. How many kids did you have to remind to bring their lunch?
Oh. Yeah.
How many kids were gonna leave and not eat lunch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just those little things.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's poking your head out the door and making a joke while they're walking.
Yeah.
That just changes their day for them.
Yeah.
So for me, okay, we're at breakfast. Mandatory.
Yeah, breakfast mandatory. After is kind of like, I would say potentially could be our downtime, but we get a lot of stuff done in between there. So
So what are some of the things that, just today alone, what's the first thing I asked you to do?
yeah,
You're going
we gotta-
out.
Yeah, we gotta go get the Kias. We gotta book airplane tickets because we're going to the Grand Session next week. So there's a lot of
Oil
stuff in between.
changes.
Oil changes. Oh my God. Okay, and after that we got lunch, and usually after lunch when we finish talking and we finish eating, normally after lunch that's when we start practice planning. So sometimes it takes some time. We just look at what do we want to do, execute, or whatever. And usually 3:30, that's when we'll get on court, right? But again, same thing. 3:30, there's a preparation that goes into that practice, right? We kind of have to set up the gym. Everything's got to be there and everything. So
Go through the practice plan,
go through
make
the
sure we
practice
all.
plan. Yeah.
So, in terms of, let's say, scouts, because we're in playoff season right now, and when you look at it, what is something that you probably came in here and thought, okay, I'm never going to need, and all of a sudden, what experience do you need here besides coaching? Because there's a lot that goes into the audio, the video, the social media, the preparation, the practice planning, because it's not like we're sitting down on a piece of paper just hey, we're just going to do this, this, and this.
Yeah,
So talk maybe a bit about that, Rudy, about all the other stuff that's expected and stuff that's going to help you at that next level, synergy, all those types of
so
things.
we probably lived through synergy, and we look at a ton of film, just basic little things, ball screen reads, just our offense, our defense, and things like that. So really, our scout would probably look like the team's offensive main actions, their main actions, personnel, of course. Are they good in transition? Or can they shoot? Who are they shooters? How can we make the shooters drivers? What do they do on defense and ball screens? I say one of my biggest thing is how do they defend man to man? Do they pressure the ball? Do they just or do they sag off and just send help to their teammates? And I think scout practice planning it pretty much do along with the scout. We like to kind of say not do what the other team is doing, but we like to put our guys in scenarios that we may get a look of what their team may do.
How many games a week or how many games a day are you watching?
I probably watch 2 to 3, and but it depends though. Like if I'm watching 2 to 3 games, I may watch the first half of one game, the second half of another game, then I watch the full game of like the same team. So it's 3 different games of the same team. I may watch the first half, then I watch the second half of another game, then I watch the full game of a whole another team, and that pretty much give me like a complete idea and thought of what that team may do in the first half, or did they make adjustment against this team in the second half, or how do a whole full game look like against this one team? And that pretty much give me a good idea of what that team making look like.
No,
Yeah.
Coach Ray. How many games do you watch? And
Well,
what do you watch, and what do you pride yourself on?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like I watch like the teams that we're going up against, and I would usually ask Rudy or O a lot of questions on that because I'm still learning, and I know they have more experience than me. So I'm doing a lot of that, but a lot of times I'm on Synergy watching college games, NBA games, and I'm breaking down basketball players, like certain players and things like that, just to see how they do certain things because I'm more on the side of player development. So I want to see how they execute certain things, like what reads they make on the ball screens, footworks, how they get their jumpers off, and the ways they get their jumpers off, how they have things like that, of that nature. So I'm usually on there a lot, just taking notes or clipping up stuff.
And one of the aspects that I think is forgotten in here is obviously Urav.
Yeah.
Because I'm huge on analytics.
Yeah.
Like I like to see the numbers. I think I think you guys have really bought into it this year in terms of like, for both of you, when I look back, if I say back, when you first started, it was like, I want to watch a game.
Yeah.
I want to see a game. And now it's like, hold on, what were the numbers that went with that game? And then what are the numbers that, because I like how you guys challenge me. And it's like, well, Coach, why does that number matter to you? Or, Coach, like, this is what I'm looking at. Like, and you do it probably the most. It's like, what are you looking at when you see that? Like, why does that jump off the page? And or when you want this, why don't you want this? And part of it is like a lot of what I think we need is really controlled by the numbers, and I have comfort in looking at the numbers because I no longer have to sit in there and look at the game film.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're coming back with the scout. You're coming back with who their best players are. And we have a whole system where I ask for specifics.
Yeah.
I want 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't want any more than 7 minutes because I don't believe that our guys are going to retain any more than 7 minutes of information
Right.
on the specifics that we want and the way that we want to do things.
Right.
So is that more challenging to you or less challenging? Like,
Just now having the analytics.
yeah,
There's
just
I think for me, like I was never big on the numbers. First of all, I hate math. That's number one. I'm just being honest with you. I hate math. But I think what the numbers really helped me understand was that there's a lot of things are going to even out the way that they have to be. There's anomalies that could happen. But you have to be comfortable. When we have a game plan, we sit down as a game plan. If something that we're willing to give up happens, what really determines whether our game plan was good or not is whether we stick to it. We have the confidence that the numbers are going to even out the way that they have to. I'll give an example. If, for instance, if let's say me and you were playing defense, right? I'm guarding Russell Westbrook and you got Steph Curry in the corner, right? I'm using Steph Curry just so people can understand it's just shooter, right? And the game plan is to not let Russell Westbrook get downhill, which means that Rudy, you got to be at the elbow when he's driving to his right. When Russell Westbrook drives, if Rudy's there and kicks out to Steph Curry makes the three, okay, that's number one, right? But our game plan was to not let Russell Westbrook go off, right? If it happens again, Rudy still be there at the elbow, catch, Steph Curry's going to make another one. Now, where our game plan is really challenged is on the third time.
it's
Some players might think, yo, coach is trying to set me up right now.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest part about analytics that I think I was able to learn a lot from was you have to trust that the plan, eventually the numbers are gonna work. You know, you have to, and just that confidence in the confidence I get, the confidence that I get it from having the conversation with you guys, right? Because I think like there's a feel aspect to it, but I do think like the numbers are important. In a certain
I think the hardest part of coaching is you have your game plan and see it through. You obviously have to make adjustments, right?
Yep.
And understand, okay, when's it time to bail on
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Like, I think for all of us, and we see it in our body language, like, and I say it to the players all the time, there's great offense and great defense. And a lot of the times, the great offense can beat the great defense. It really can. The problem is we all act like they're not supposed to score one single time.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to have a shutout.
Yeah.
And then you start saying, well, they scored. Yeah, but that was good offense. And it's being able to determine, like, man, he made a tough-ass shot. Hand was in his face. Closeout was great. And then you're looking at the player like, yo, bro, get there sooner.
Get there sooner,
Like,
yeah.
If you were there sooner, you would have blocked it. Like, it's understanding what, and I always say it to all of us, is like, we have to be willing to give up what we agree to give up.
Yeah.
Because we can't have everything.
You can't take away everything.
Like,
If you try to take away everything,
then you're gonna get nothing.
you take away nothing.
And so, I think those are the funniest ones where it's like, we'll be on the bench
Yeah.
and we're all yelling, and then we're like, yo, that's what we were giving up.
Yeah.
We all kind of look at each other like, yeah, you're right. Like, it's knowing when to pull the plug. I think the one where it's like, man, like we agreed a couple times this year, like, yo, no matter what, we are not coming out of the zone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did come. Yeah.
We were just doing it. Why?
Yeah.
Because we want to figure out what the hell we were.
Yeah.
And if we lost, we lost. And if we won, we won. But I think there was confidence built in both of those aspects. And it's like coming up with a plan to execute and sticking with it, I think is really good, because I think we got more out of those than if we aborted on that real quick and didn't even follow through.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think circumstances also led to us making
Yeah.
some of those decisions.
Yeah.
Injuries, fatigue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think, you know, I think that's one of the biggest coaching is just knowing when to stick with the plan and when to, like, man, this ain't working. Let's get out of this.
Yeah. But it has taught me patience, though. That's the one thing. I think like I'm a little more like patient.
Yeah.
You know, like there are some shots, like for instance, if I can't get mad at if somebody's 5'11" closing out on a 6'8" guy, like that shot is, no matter how close you're gonna be, he's gonna get that shot over you. That's a non-contested shot. He's gonna.
See, I'd look at you and say, stop recruiting 5'11" guys.
Nah, it's crazy. I didn't even really care about the analytics. Like when we first got Synergy, I wasn't into it as much. I was like, I just want to watch the whole game. Like, I just want to watch what he does in the game. I don't even care what Synergy tells me. But now I'm more like, I kind of do more of both, but I'm more of the Synergy side. Like you said, like the numbers, they don't lie. Like, and Synergy does a good job of like really charting out everything. Like, say like if they're a good spot up team, okay, so do they shoot? If they're an excellent spot up team, how well do they shoot it guarded and unguarded? So then if they unguarded excellent and guarded poor, you just gotta get a hand up and contest that shot and give yourself a chance.
How hard is it for you guys, and I'm asking a question I know the answer to, but how hard is it for you guys to get your players to believe in those numbers? And what do you think, if you're talking to a young coach that's trying to get, you know, he's seeing numbers and he's trying to get his point across to his team, how hard is that? And what do you do to get through? Is it add video so they could see it? Is it like,
I think
do
video
the
is huge.
kids, because I feel like our guys started to buy into the numbers because we started to bring an iPad to practice. We have Urav at practice. He got his iPad with the numbers. We got the practices being filmed, and we could rewind and zoom in on, like, they can't hide.
The instant feedback,
And so those numbers don't lie. And you know, we stat track practice.
Yeah.
Now they see the losses, they see the wins, and they see the video.
Yep.
It's hard to hide.
It's hard. Yeah. I think that's where a lot of players will build those bad habits a lot of times, When you don't have that feedback right away, you could sometimes let a lot of stuff slide. But I think that now the fact that we have the iPad, we have the numbers, we have this, we have that. Like, it's very hard for a player to just be like, no, I don't. Like, because a lot of times players are going to go with, I don't feel like I did that. Or I was in this position. I was there, you know. When you have the film, when you have the numbers, like every time you're here, every time you contest this three, he goes from 70 to like 25%. It's very hard to not get the buy-in from a player from there.
Your love is skill training.
Yeah.
Your guys' love is skill training and coaching and skill training.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of watching all this video and synergy, how much impact do those numbers and synergy put back into how you train these kids? Does it affect your drills?
Mm-hmm.
Does it affect how you look at them? Does it affect what they need to improve upon?
Definitely, because synergy, it tracks the shot chart. What does he shoot it good from the right side? Does he shoot it good from the left side? How well do he finish in the paint? Like all that stuff, it shows everything that you really need to know and to help the development of the kid that you're working with. And because it'd be pointless just to go out and work out with a kid that you don't know. Like if he can't shoot it from the left side, then maybe I should try like getting more reps from the left side. I feel like that little small stuff there is really, really important. And Synergy does a really good job of helping me know what I'm going into a practice or like going into workouts what I need to work on, instead of not having a plan of what I need to work on.
Right. What about you?
Well, so one of the reasons why I was never into, well, I'm still trying to rework and get better at it when it comes to like just skill development and training. It's just because I don't do cool drills. I don't like, my drills are not cool. They're very like get to the point. You know, like it's boring, but I feel like it's what you need. You know, like just simple things like change, like balance, change of speeds and things like that, right? I think there's this idea that because when you shoot threes, you get the most points right away. Like you get the most points. So a lot of times, like the art of just creating your shot or getting to your spots because the defense is going to react this way, so then you could create a much clearer three for somebody else. That idea sometimes is a little bit not misunderstood by players. Like they think that I got to be able to shoot contested threes for things to open up, where I feel like if you can kind of like get a paint touch, that will create for your teammate. You know, like that's kind of like where my mind is at, where I'm just thinking like
More team.
Yeah,
than
team. Yeah,
individual.
Individual. Yeah. I think when it comes to the individual itself, I think that the main things is it's angles, right? It's how do you create angles to create those paint touches? How do you get angles to how do you angle yourself to finish over somebody? Like different things like that. Like I think that's where I gotta get better. Where I have to make it. I understand that players now they're looking like they want to work on their own skill, right? So instead of me looking at it as a negative thing, I just have to rework on how I would teach players to make it more engaging.
What about you, Ray?
I think it brings a lot of clarity to not only the coach or trainer, but to the player. It carves out a path for them and allows them to see clearly. It also allows you to master something. Like, you know your strengths, you see something, you see what you're good at. Allows you to actually just master that thing and know what your weaknesses are and then be able to work on those at a later date, like off season. But it brings you mastery, which I know you said you always got to be good at one thing. And so it allows you to master that one thing and let that be your driving force.
I mean, how many times have you guys gone to a player and say, what are you good at?
Yeah, a lot of times
And they're
they
like,
don't know. A lot of times they don't know.
You know, and I think that's the clarity that's needed. You know, I'm a shooter. You know, I'm a point, like I'm good at passing. You know, I'm the best rebounder. I'm a shot blocker. Like you could grow on all that, but if you actually just don't know one thing, then you're really a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Master of none, yeah.
You know, so I think you said that there was a question. Let's pop right into a question.
Yes. So one person asked, how do you prevent burnout for coaches and players? Because knowing This is interesting because knowing everything that we go through here, everything that is required for you to get to the level, how do you get players to buy into the little things, that might seem like less important?
Okay, so I think, and you guys, I want you guys to jump in, so it's not just me, but I think that's a tough balancing act that we've been going through for the last, I'm gonna call it year and a half, year and
Indeed.
3/4, right?
Indeed.
Is burnout, because we went through a bubble, and, both Coach O and I lived in the bubble with the kids, and there was no separation, there was
No.
there was no days off, so to speak. And I think now that it's getting a little bit better, I think it's trying to give you the space during the day when they're back at school. It's trying to create a weekend rotation of who's responsible for the kids that live in the dorms. It's trying to let you go to the movies or to the nightclub or to back to something of norm. And we're not quite there, but we're really close to getting back to the norm.
Right.
I think it's really balancing. There's days where we practice at 6 and you want to go for a nap. Like just midday, it's like you crash and you have to. Like, so you start to build that in. Like you need that because even after 6 o'clock, we never even finished what a day is. We got to dinner.
Yeah.
And then there's stretch class, and then there's study hall, and then there's just chilling with the guys, trying to get them out of basketball and school and just be a kid.
Yeah.
And then it's trying to get them to stop being a kid and go to bed.
Go to bed, yeah.
So like those are all
'Cause you gotta
like
wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
and do it
like-
all over again the next day,
so it's I don't know the right answer, but I think it is trying to give separation, trying to give time off.
Right.
I think we all look at basketball as a 24/7 job anyways. So when you do have time off, you're still thinking basketball.
Yeah.
It's like,
For
man,
sure.
you'll be off going to a club on Saturday night thinking about practice Sunday night or Monday morning. Like, okay, oh yeah, I want to add that. And, we'll call each other and say like, oh, let's work on, 3-on-3 because, our ball screen's bad. Or, hey, coach, I'm watching a video right now and we need to fix this. I don't think it's hard.
Yeah.
I think I look at it as when we play our last game, then it's development time. And you can build rest into the development time because you can't properly develop anyone, coach or player, without rest. And so I think hopefully that kind of answers it. I don't know if you guys want to. What do you guys do?
I'll go first. Like for me, like I noticed that I was giving a lot of my time to others, right? But I never actually like gave time to myself, right? So one thing that I made a conscious effort to do was that I had to work out every day. Right? Just for me, just working out kind of like is the time that I can to do for me. Like I have to find times to do it, Like, with all the TikTok videos and everything like that helps me too because because I've gotten this question. They're like, oh, you at Orangeville, all you're doing is just making videos all the time, da-da-da-da-da. But you see how packed our day is, right? Like, if I was in a mindset where
This guy sneaks out to do them.
You know what I mean? So
it'll be like 11 o'clock. Where's O? In the gym doing a TikTok video, probably.
No, for real. Like, it just like gets my mind off of things, and it makes me put myself into perspective. Like, and I think that also as, like, especially for young players, like you think you're just a basketball player. You're more than that. You're a brother. You could be, if you're playing on the girl side, you're a sister, you're a daughter, you're a son. Like, you're more than that. Like, you have to understand that, like, if you think ball is life, right, and you think it's just like go train all the time, you're gonna miss out on so much opportunity, so much time that you could have with the ones you love. And then, like, and if there's one thing I learned from the pandemic, it's like, man, like, you don't want to live with regret. Regret sucks, man. Like, you just don't want to miss out on things, right? Like, I think, like, it really helped me put things into perspective. So what it really helped me to do, and this was long-winded to answer the question, I think you got to understand your own system. You got to understand what motivates you, what makes you work. if you love basketball, you love it, it's cool. It's going to be easy for you to do. But there are other things that you're able to do that are going to push you to keep being the best version of yourself. And sometimes you got to take time out of your day to do those things for you to be your 100%. And back to what we said, I got to be 100% in me to be able to give my 100% to the kids.
Yeah. I think for me it's hard to explain because I don't know if, like, my whole life is basketball. And like, for me to say, like, I got to take time for myself, like, I feel selfish.
Yep.
Like, I feel like...
I feel like I'm letting somebody down.
Like, man, no. If I turn off my phone for hours, I feel like, no, something's going to happen. Like, I can't not be there to take a phone call.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's times where it's like, okay, I'm not going to answer this call, and then you feel guilty. Then you got to call it back, and it's like, so for me, it's like, I agree that you got to, and it's not even selfish. It's just for your own personal health. I find myself like, I can't sit in the office and watch game film. I can't. I don't know why. I need to like get up in the morning when everyone's still in bed, and I need to do it then. I need to do it when everyone goes to bed.
Right.
I need to do it then. And I feel like those are the times where it's like before 6 a.m., no one's going to bug me.
No one's gonna bug you.
After midnight, no one's going to bug me. And I feel like it's weird, but I feel like I'm more productive in those times because I don't feel like I'm taking away from something else.
Bingo.
It's weird, but it's hard on me because now you're up to 3 a.m. and you're up at 6. You're up till this, and I watch a ton of game film and I analyze it, and then I start saying, man, why did I watch that? Like, or why did I watch it 5 times? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why did I? This is my 6th time watching this game. Like, what am I looking for? And then you're like, every time you watch it, you change your mind on something. But you got to figure out what are the ones that stay common, and the ones that stay common after you watch it are like, I gotta fix those things, and that's it. But it's like this summer, I was talking with someone yesterday, and I said, like, this summer, I'm gonna do my job, but I'm gonna find a way to incorporate my time into that job.
You have to.
I'm gonna find ways to like have fun and check off bucket list items while I do my job. And then it's like, as a father, and if there's any fathers out there that coach their kids, it's like my hardest thing when I was raising my kids was, how do you separate being a dad from coach? And when can you turn coach off? Because my hardest thing was I couldn't turn coach off ever. Even if they did something in school, I was coaching. Like, a dad really is a coach, but it's like you need separation to the coach loves you to get results. And a father has to love you unconditionally, and it doesn't have to be results driven. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it's the hardest thing to do when you coach your own kids, or when you're hard on your kids because you want to see them be successful. Your kids have to want to be successful before you want to make them more successful. And that's hard. I think that's a whole nother topic. But I think that's the rest for me is like, man, I want to go to the beach one day. I want to just like chill. We'll go to the beach and find a basketball court. Like, come on. We'll go on vacation and we can't stay at this hotel because there's no court. Or so it's hard. But what was the other question? How do you, it was about the kids.
Man, yes, so,
I got a couple too.
yeah?
All right, fire yours.
Fire.
One is, what is the #1 skill coaches are looking for in new recruits?
Honestly, that's a great question. I think for me, I look at understanding. I look at ball IQ. Before I used to look like, yo, can this guy jump out of the gym? Can this guy, shoot 50% from the 3? Can this guy? For me now, I want to have a basketball conversation with someone because I'm so confident in our skill development that we could teach. But someone that just has no clue or no ball IQ or no willingness to learn, who won't sit and watch game film and won't ask questions, those are the hardest ones, because now you're questioning, do they like it or love it? If they like it, they're not doing it. If they love it, they're on you. We got guys in here that are like, let's watch this. Tell me about this.
Yeah.
What are you doing this?
Yeah.
I did this. Where's this? How's my foot split? Like, they challenge you
Mm-hmm.
because their ball IQ is so high.
Yeah.
So I think over time I've changed. You got to be around these guys for every minute of every day.
Yes.
If they don't really love basketball, they find everything else to talk
Everything
about.
else, yeah.
Everything else to do.
Yeah.
You guys, you want
No,
to?
I was gonna say, yeah, definitely IQ. Just knowing how to play. I don't care how athletic you are. If you don't know how to play, you can't play this game. Like, I want guys that know how to play and know how to play the right way.
I think we look for if the person's watching, we look for a certain level of skill.
Oh yeah.
But then it's that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, if his jump shot's not great, we can fix
Just
it.
that easy. Yeah.
If he can't dribble good, we can fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if he doesn't know anything, it's just hard.
It's hard, yeah.
It's tough. You could have all the skills in the world and do nothing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think just being coachable. Like, can he take, especially coming here? Like, if we recruiting guys to come here, like, can you be coached hard and can you be held accountable? Because we're gonna coach you really, really hard. And I some guys just can't take hard coaching. So I think, like, if we was to recruit a guy, for sure, like I said, IQ and is he coachable? Because we're gonna coach you, we're gonna make you uncomfortable, and if you're not willing to be uncomfortable for us to make you better, then I gotta scratch you off my list. Because I gotta have guys that will let me push you and help me get to you where I know I think you can go.
Yeah, it's not easy, man. It's really not easy.
What about you?
Open mind. I think I agree with both of what the Tony and Coach Rudy said, but having an open mind to just learning and growing and being open to different perspectives of seeing the game. That's my biggest thing outside of what they said already.
Mm-hmm.
How can a player stand out at the player ID sessions?
I think it's, that the player IDs and when you walk through everything, right? Like at a player ID, it's hard to get.
Yeah.
You could tell someone's ball IQ by how they play. They're coming out making the right reads, the right passes. It's not all just about themselves.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you identify, and we've been doing it for, like, I've been doing this 33 plus years.
Yeah.
Like, you see a kid, you're like, oh, he could hoop.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he made this play. Oh, do you see that? Like, we talk about that. Yo, you see that pass?
Yeah.
Like, the things that I think make us excited are, like, a kid wouldn't look at, like, oh, I got to come in and, like, I just got to drop 50.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to look at, like, I got to score. Like, man, he missed that pass. Oh, he did this. I think it's just coming in and being yourself. I think, I always say it, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You could work out for you, me, you, or you, and we'd all have a different perspective.
Yeah, agreed.
I think the one thing that we'd come back is, does he make the right basketball plays?
Yeah.
Right? And then you could have the debate, well, that kid's a scorer. So, like, maybe he's going to miss the kick to the corner, but, like, defensively, he's talking about the right rotations. He communicates. I think that's another one. Over communicate. You can't come into an ID session and be quiet.
Right.
You got to stick out.
Yeah.
I think it's make the coaches know your name. Play hard, be loud, be in the right positions, make the right plays, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a number, but hey,
Yeah.
coach, my name's so and so. Like,
I think if you take a charge, you give yourself
if you take a charge, you're
75%. 75% in. If you take a
Right.
charge, those who take charges and dive on the floor.
those are like effort.
Effort. Yeah.
So hopefully that answers it. I don't think there's one specific thing you can do, but like if you just come in here and go through the motions and just be shy and reserved and laid back and let everyone else do the work, it's gonna be tough.
Right.
This might be hard without a little more context, but what should a good player do if he is stuck with a bad team?
In college basketball, leave. No.
No. So
Get out.
You want me to get
No, you could start.
Yeah, so I think a lot of times it's I really these guys know they're around me all the time. I really believe in perspective so much. Like I think a lot of times perspective comes from lack of communication sometimes. I think if you could talk with your coach more, just asking what it is that you want to do, because sometimes it's just not the team is bad. Sometimes it's just like your role. Like you think you're supposed to have a role, and your coach sees something else as a role, and it automatically, by default, it makes it a bad situation.
So I'm going to jump
what I
in
mean?
there. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that, but I'm going to say this. Find out why your team's bad first. Like, I think you gotta understand what makes us bad. And I think if you could figure out what it is that makes you bad, it's going to make finding out what the answer to make you good is. Do we have bad players all the way around? Do we have a lack of understanding? Do we not play hard enough? Do we have the right people in the mix? And it goes back to ending, like, sit down with your coach. Figure out, he's going to have a perspective. No coach coaches and wants to be bad.
You're right.
If they do want to be bad, then they shouldn't be doing
They
this.
shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
Every coach should want the best of their players, and if you get the most out of your players, that should correlate to progress. It may not always lead to wins,
Right.
but define wins.
Yeah.
There's the game, and then did we get better? Because I remember growing up, you have a team that will come to you and say, let's play. And you beat them by 50. And you think, man, why? And they call you the next week and say, let's play again. And you beat them by 30. They going back working on stuff. They trying to just get a little bit better each time. Eventually, and this was, I'll say this, like growing up, when I coached Brampton, Scarborough Blues, number 2 team and number 3 team would always call us and want to play. And we'd go play them, and they'd get a little bit better. And before you know it, they have confidence.
Yeah.
Their losses are really wins because they're looking at, well, it was 50, then it was 30, then it was 20, then it was 10. Hey, we're in games. And they come to an understanding of what it is they needed as a team. So I'd say as a player, you need to figure out, why are you losing? What is your coach's perspective of those losses? Your coach may say to you, no, I think we're getting better. I think we didn't have the skill to compete, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
Or he may say, the whole team's just terrible right now. We don't have the skill set, and we need to make some changes.
Yeah.
Some pieces need to change.
Yeah.
Because everybody here knows, we do it with our lineups. You take one piece out, and you put one piece in, it changes everything.
Everything.
You put that piece back in and take another piece out, it's different again.
Everything. Yeah.
And it depends. And I had this conversation with my son who plays in Europe, and here we're too hung up on who are starters.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's based on matchups. You could be best player on the team and come off the bench. In my opinion, you need to figure out who it is that's on the court at the end of the game. As a coach, I'm looking at what are the dudes that are going to win me this game when it needs to be won?
Right.
Not who's going to win the jump ball and get the first basket. We
Right,
could adjust to
right,
that.
Right.
So I think, and do you want to add anything to that question? Because, or Ray, like, you guys are in the situation where you're young, with our regional team, and they're getting better. It's learning to compete continuously, not just once in a while. When you don't have all the talent in the world and you don't compete continuously, you lose on just those little letdown pieces.
Yeah, like now that you say that, thinking about it, it's like the experience on the regional team is not like it's mixed. You got guys that have played, and you have guys that have barely played, and the thing is trying to teach those guys who barely played how to play, and trying to get those guys who have played this game and are frustrated to learn how to lead, learn how to become teachers now, learn how to take on the responsibility of I'm the big brother, so I have to take care of the other guys, and I'd say every situation you're in has a lesson in it, and your job is just to kind of see the lesson and grow, because there's always an opportunity of growth in every situation that you're in.
I think, like Coach saying, being able to compete, all right, and if you are that good player on a bad team, I think putting confidence in the guys you're going to war with. Like if you're the only one with the confidence going to war and your teammates don't have that same confidence, then of course the game won't go in your favor. But even if you're competing at a high level and the guy and you have confidence in your teammates, just that they have confidence in you, you can give yourself a chance, regardless of how good you are or not. I think just confidence and being able to compete at a high level.
I think figuring out what it is that the coach expects from each player, and then if you're the best player, figuring out how to bring the best out of each of those other players, right? And I think if the coach empowers you to do that, I think you're in a leadership role. You know, where and figuring out everybody on the team. So it's, you know, when you make a mistake, I put my arm around you and you feel better. When you make a mistake, you're okay with me, like, yo, wake up. You know, everybody is approached differently. And it's like, I think as the best player on a bad team, you can't act like that.
Right.
If you know you're the best player, then figure out how to make those other players more valuable, better, and how they could add to that. So.
And what if you're not, let's say, as good of a player? If, let's say, you're not as good of a player, and you feel like the team is bad and you should be getting more playing time, because I get those questions a lot. Like, yo, I'm not playing. The coach doesn't understand my game.
But I think that's understanding. Honestly, like, when I go to a player and I give an assessment, this is what I think. What do you think? I think it's too many times players are scared to ask questions. Or they're scared to hear what someone's perspective of them are.
Right.
If you're not playing, find out why you're not playing.
Right.
If the coach says you're not good enough, find out why you're not good enough.
Right.
If the coach says you shouldn't be on this team, then why are you on that team?
Right.
Like, maybe that was a decision when the coach said, because I've had this too. I'll be the 12th player. My parents are okay with me being the 12th player. I know I'm never going to play, but you're never going to be happy. And you were okay with being the 12th player because you just wanted to be on the team. But when you go through a whole season of not playing, you're not happy. And you could have been somewhere else getting better. And so I think that's hard. Now, there's other guys that are the 12th player and they end up being one of your better players. They fight through all that. Right? But I think it's being honest. If you're a coach, you got to be honest.
Right. And then after also as a player, right? I think that's the key. Like, when you go and you take the first step and you hear that, you know, it's hard to hear sometimes, like, yo, like, right now you're just not at the level that you have to be at. But instead of being mad and feel sorry for yourself, like, understand that you have an opportunity, right? Like, understand that you have an opportunity. You're a part of the team. So many other people want to be a part of the team, and you're there, right? So you got a decision you can make off of what coach tells you. Now, do you work on it? Like, if I'm playing one-on-one against somebody and he says, yo, he can't shoot. Like, instead of me being offended that the person's saying I can't shoot, let me use that as the cheat code. Okay, so I got to work on my shot. Then what? Yo, send him left. Okay, that means I actually have problems going left. Let me work on my left, right? So your perspective really plays, really has a big part in that, in your success. So if you hear something from your coach or whatever, like, don't take it personally. Like, understand that your coach, you wouldn't be on the team if your coach didn't think that you had a chance.
Absolutely. I mean, how many kids have you coached that you don't want to see successful? Like, no coach wants to coach kids that say, man, I want to make this kid unsuccessful.
Like, wake up this morning, yo, how do I make Johnny do this? Like,
let me make him miss every shot.
Make him miss every shot.
Like, you just don't do that. No coach wants to lose. So I think you have to figure out how do you fit into that equation to help him win. So,
last question. How can I get a team of gifted offensive players to buy into playing team defense?
That's the hardest question.
Come to our practice.
That's one of the hardest questions. I hear a lot of NBA podcasts and stuff like that. That's what they say the hardest thing is.
I think it's buy-in. Honestly, I think it's, again, we talked a lot in this show about synergy. The numbers don't lie. When you sit there and you look at, you know, I pride myself. I want to be in the top 2 or 3 in every category. Like, you guys know that. Like, I look at synergy and say, shit, we're the third best defensive team. Okay, where are we bad? What do we got to fix? I want to be first. And I think it starts with me to try to drive that. But then I think you got to get the guys to buy in, to make them understand that there's going to be games where your offense can't win you a game.
Right.
And I always say our guys, and it's so cliche, but offense sells tickets, defense wins games. Right? We're sitting there telling guys they got to take charges. We got to sacrifice our body. We need 2 more possessions a game. Like, I think it's them realizing that all offense catches up with you eventually. There's a level of defense that's just, we can't be below this.
Yeah.
Like, we stat track it, so we know what our numbers are.
Yeah.
If a team scores X amount on us, we're going to be in some games.
Yeah.
If we keep a team under this, we're going to blow them out.
Yeah.
And we practice that way. So if they're below that number, great, we achieved our goal. If they're above that number, they're going to feel it in practice. We set that goal, and they know how hard they have to play to achieve that goal. And if not, then they got to get it in practice. And when we say get it in practice, we're gonna work more on defense than we work on offense. The other trade-off that we try to do is this. If you do your job on defense, we're going to give you flexibility and freedom on offense.
Yeah.
Players love that.
Love that.
So they're going to go harder to rebound, take
Yep.
charges, keep guys out of the paint, because then they're not hearing the coach call it. Oh, my coach calls a play every single time
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
No, listen, as a coach, I'd rather sit on a chair and watch my team play
Yeah.
in confidence that
Yeah.
they've worked their butt off on defense, and on offense,
Yeah.
they're just going to go to work.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you got to have a certain level of when it comes crunch time, you need to be able to execute.
Yeah. Execution. Yeah.
But you shouldn't be in games if you've done what you did on the defensive end. Most teams, what's every recruiting pitch of every Division I school when they come in here and recruit a kid?
Yeah. Offensively, what they say?
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, man, we like to get up and down.
we want to play faster. We want to score right at the beginning of the shot
We try to
clock.
go up and
Well,
down.
there's your fruit. There's your low hanging fruit. Everyone tells you they want to play faster.
Fast.
Every kid wants to play in
Yeah,
transition.
transition.
Every kid wants to be throwing lobs, receiving lobs, dunking on people, getting layups. There's your trade-off.
Yeah.
I'll let you do that if you do this. If you don't do this, this is going to be hard. Now because we can't get stops, we're going to have to manufacture baskets through an offense.
Yeah.
We can't take the risk of letting you go throw stuff up now.
Yeah.
But you get a stop, you get a take.
Yeah.
You get 2 stops and we're up.
Yeah.
And it's a trade-off,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm gonna go with try to build trust among those players. I think that with basketball, in some situations, has really become individualistic. Like people are working on the individual skills. So they think like, yo, I don't need to stop somebody. I'm just gonna outscore them and I'm gonna win the game, right? I think that, like Coach said, ties into the buy-in. But I think like just having trust among like the 5 players that are on the court. Well, hey, this person has my back if I have, just taking away that individual mindset. Yo, I'm just gonna do it to more like, let's be together. Let's understand how strong we can be collectively. I think that's a big that could give a lot of success.
Last thing, and we'll close it off. No more questions. We're good. Something motivational to end this show. Something that someone could take with them for this week until we get back next week. If there's a player, a coach, a mom, a dad watching, each of you just, what's one thing we could let everybody leave with this week?
One thing that's big for me, I like every morning, like just like I said, we got 24 guys here. I try to make sure I impact someone. We got 24 guys in here. I know for sure I can impact one of these boys for today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna impact somebody else. That's one of the big things. I wake up and think about every day. Who will I impact today? That's one of my big things.
Me, belief. Just believe in what you teach. Believe in the guys around you. Believe. Honestly, that's got me here at least.
Understand that the fastest way for you to be unhappy is you comparing yourself to other people. Everybody sucks too. Everybody thinks that the grass is greener or whatever, So I think that understand that you just being alive is an opportunity for you. Like, the odds of being a human being are 1 in 400 trillion, and you're here. So you have an opportunity to do something with it. So do something.
I think mine is patience. I think is
I like patience.
you know, be a better listener than a talker. And I like all of these. The one thing I always try to do every morning when we come in breakfast is just walk in and good morning, everyone. And I think that just like changes everyone's like, oh, good morning, coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then we created a rule of they got to ask to be excused from the table. And I think just in that creates conversation. Like they have to know that they finished something. So the level of completeness. But I think for me, it's patience. Is you can't expect everybody to always do the right thing. Understand why they didn't and help them see a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it for today. I think we left with some good things. If anyone does have any more questions throughout the week, any topics, anything you'd want to see us cover next week on Whiteboard Wednesdays, we'll be back at it next Wednesday after we win a championship
Yep.
Yes, sir.
and getting ready to head out to
Tune
win
in.
another one.
Big weekend.
There we go. Big weekend this weekend. Come out, support OSBA finals. Some really good games, high-level basketball. A lot of coaches going to be out. And we'll be back Wednesday with our championship trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.